I was never the type of man to cause a spectacle. But the night Karen, my wife, looked me straight in the eye and said, "Sometimes I wish you'd just vanish," something inside me broke. It wasn't an eruption of anger or a storm of words. It was a quiet shattering, the kind of silence that changes a person forever. I didn't question her. I didn't beg, argue, or ask her to explain. I simply nodded, calm on the outside though her words had gutted me, and rose slowly from the table. My keys stayed on the counter of the home we had built, a house that suddenly felt more like a museum of a life I no longer belonged to. I left with only my wallet and a small duffel bag. No goodbyes, no explanations. Just silence. For a decade, I had twisted my life around her happiness, working late hours, burying my own ambitions so hers could thrive, overlooking every small sign that her love had already begun to wither. But those 7 words were the final truth. She didn't want me. Maybe she expected me to fight for her, to beg for scraps of affection. But there was nothing left inside me to offer. So I gave her exactly what she wished. I disappeared. 3 states away, I rebuilt myself from nothing. I legally changed my name and left my old skin behind. I returned to carpentry, the craft I had loved long before she pushed me into the corporate world. In a quiet little town where no one knew who I used to be, I lived a simple life. I didn't write to friends, didn't call my brother. I became a ghost, slipping through streets unseen. Just another man at the diner, another face at the market. Over time, I bought a cabin on the edge of the forest. I took commissions for handmade furniture, eventually opening a small workshop with my name painted neatly on the glass. People admired my skill and respected my quiet, steady way of living. I wasn't anyone's husband anymore. I wasn't anyone's failure. I was just a man making honest work with his hands. And that was enough. 7 years passed like that. I convinced myself I didn't care what had become of Karen. I assumed she had moved on. Maybe married the man I'd always suspected lingered at the edges of our marriage. My heart, I thought, had hardened against her. Then one afternoon, she walked into my shop. Her clothes were fine but rumpled, her hair slightly unkempt, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on me. She froze. For a moment, neither of us moved. Time stood still. She looked older, not just from age, but from the kind of wear life leaves behind. Her hands trembled as she stepped closer. "Michael," she whispered, my old name, a name I hadn't heard in years. "You're alive." I said nothing. My arms folded across my chest, my heart pounding, but my face betrayed nothing. Then she broke. Loud, unrestrained sobs poured out of her, and customers turned to stare. She dropped to her knees in the middle of my shop, repeating over and over how sorry she was. "I searched for you," she cried. "For years. I thought you were dead. I filed reports, saw therapists, tore my life apart trying to find you. I never meant those words that night. I was angry, careless. I never thought you'd actually leave." I finally spoke. My voice was calm, steady. But I did. And I stayed gone. Her tear-streaked face lifted toward me. "Please come back. Just talk to me. Let me make it right." I took a slow breath. "There's nothing left to fix. You wished me gone and I disappeared." She cried harder. I didn't reach for her. My grieving had ended long ago, in motel rooms and in the quiet darkness of the forest. Her sorrow wasn't mine to hold anymore. At last, she rose, wiping her face with the back of her hand. Her voice was fragile when she asked, "Do you hate me?" I paused, then said, "No. I just don't feel anything anymore." The words seemed to cut deeper than hatred ever could. She nodded slowly, then turned and walked out, just as I had years ago. I watched her vanish into the daylight, a stranger now. The door shut softly behind her. I turned back to my workbench, lifted my chisel, pressed it against the grain, and kept carving. Because some things you leave behind forever, and some you bury so deep that you forget they were ever yours at all.